So this chapter picks up with Noel and Real's Valkyries all charging straight into Megakula's undead army. And Udon tells Noel that they don't have enough energy to take on an entire army and Megakula at the same time. So a majority of the chapter pretty much becomes all of the other characters clearing the way as Noel makes a mad dash to land her final hit on Megakula. And this actually leads to a bunch of amazing shots for each of the side characters. For example, the first one to clear the way is Real. When a bunch of undead try to attack Noel, he actually uses painting magic Lord of Valhalla to summon a giant, Odin-looking man to protect her by sucking him up into two giant tornadoes. And you know what? Real actually ends up playing a major role in the fight in this chapter, despite relegating himself to being just a minor player, because he says that Noel's Saint Stage and Charlotte's anti-curse attacks are the crucial factor in this fight, which I mean, he's not exactly wrong. Noel's Saint Stage attacks are the only thing capable of landing the killing blow on Megakula, and Charlotte's anti-curse attacks are needed to break through any curse defensive Megakula tries to use to block Noel. But I would argue that Real, if he wasn't here and didn't do such a great job with his supporting role in this chapter, then they would have never stood a chance. Not to mention his Twilight Valhalla spell from the last chapter is literally the only reason they're alive right now. Anyway, Charlotte's the next one to clear some of the way, and this is when we get to see her use her true briar magic, Scarlet Braided Beautiful Battle Spear, which I really hope is a mistranslation in the fan translation because that name is a fucking mouthful. But yeah, it's pretty much just a giant spear made of her red briars that she shoots directly at Megakula. And once again, we have Megakula praising the humans for how effective they've been against her. She even calls them the greatest creatures to toy with, which shows that she's really been having fun despite the fact that she's been kinda going back and forth whether or not she's losing or winning in this fight. She seems to really be having fun fighting off against the humans. But even when she's having so much fun with them, she at least does realize that there's at least some danger in her attacks, and decides to block Charlotte and Noel by summoning giant undead soldiers covered in Aether steel armor to block them. But just as Noel was about to fight off against one of the giants, Luck comes out of nowhere blasting off the top half of his body. And this was a mind-blowing entrance because out of all the characters to show up, I did not see Luck being one of them. Although it does make sense that he showed up here because the last time we saw him, he had just reunited with Asta, Magna, Zora, and Nock. And since Asta's here, that means the others most likely were quote spying. So now that he's here, I wouldn't be surprised if the other three show up in the next chapter. Although I don't see how much help they could be in this situation. I mean, I guess they could take out some of the undead, but when it comes to fighting off against Megakula, they wouldn't really be that big of a help. But now that Luck is here, Real gets the idea to use his Twilight Valhalla magic, which he can apparently extend freely. I thought the way it worked was that it only affected people in a certain radius around him, but apparently he can shoot it out to any position in the entire field that he wants to. Anyway, he ends up using it to revive Gaja, who, even though was on the verge of death after his final attack, was still technically alive. And he says once he's brought back that he's already as good as dead, but he's grateful to Real for giving him this last chance to fight for Lord Pachika. And this is when we get this really cool moment where we get to see Luck and Gaja side by side getting ready to attack. And this shot, while it wasn't as cool or as impactful as when Asa and Yami teamed up together to fight against Dante, because these two also have a sort of master and disciple relationship, seeing the two of them work together in this chapter was really still fucking cool. So the two of them turn themselves into lightning and blitz their way through all of the undead between Noel and Megakula. And they also hit Megakula with the attack, destroying almost all of her body, revealing her heart that she was hiding inside her head. And now that her heart has been exposed, Noel goes in for the killing blow, but even though she's just half ahead, Megakula is still fighting back, and uses a cursed rune barrier to block Noel's attack at the very last second, and tries to counterattack Noel, planning to take her out instantly. But then, again, coming out of nowhere, we have Noel get surrounded by a mercury bubble, and Nozel enters the fight. And like I said, Nozel's entrance in this chapter really does kind of come out of nowhere, but at the same time, it really does make sense. Because we haven't seen Nozel since chapter 275, when him, Fugoyan, and Dorothy split up from their teams to take care of the Dark Disciples. And since then, we've seen Fugoyan come back in chapter 283, but we haven't seen Dorothy come back just yet. So we're still waiting for her to come back into the story. But even though we haven't seen them since chapter 275, it does make perfect sense that Nozel would be the one to show up here, because obviously he has just as much of a reason to want revenge against Megakula as Noel. In fact, even though I haven't thought of them since we saw them in chapter 281, I kinda wish Nebra and Salad were also here, because not only would it be extremely impactful to have all four of Aesir's children working together to take down the one who killed her, But it would also be great development for their characters to finally learn the truth about their mother's death and realize how wrong they were for blaming Noel this whole time. I mean, it wouldn't take away how shitty they've been to her for the past 17 years, but it could make the two of them more likable as characters in the future. Anyway, now that Nozel is here, I'm both excited and worried. I'm excited because we should finally be getting to see what kind of new power-up Nozel gained post the time skip, which is great not only because I'm sure it's going to be cool as hell, but it should also give us a hint as to what Fugonyan's power-up will be too. But I'm worried because I thought this fight would have ended in this chapter. That's actually what I predicted in my last review, because everything from the last chapter seemed to be setting that up. But now that Nozel has been brought in, if he's going to have a significant role in this fight, we have to extend the fight at least 2 more chapters. And even if it does end up ending in chapter 303, that's still 10 chapters devoted solely to this fight without any cuts or interruptions, besides a slight flashback into what happened during the fight between Aesir and Vonica. So yeah, personally, I was really hoping that the fight would actually end in this chapter because honestly, I think it's about time that it does end and we move on to the Yuno vs Xenon fight. But that's just me personally. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. But anyway, that's it for the chapter. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying something new with these Black Horror videos for these next few chapters where I'm just going to be doing voiceover instead of a face cam, just because I feel like it might be a little bit more appealing that way. But let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.